You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Tide.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it is! And it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
Thanks for present play on this episode of Two and Out. Travis Currah, Sheldon Jones, Brazilian Tie. Boys, we'll start with you, Sheldon. Tell me where the Halloween candy deals are at, because I think they screw us now. They pack it in Christmas packaging now and don't give us the good deals anymore.
I seen
You saw
Jamie. My Jamie. I saw this guy walking out of Shoppers yesterday, and he looked like he got some deals because he had like 6 boxes.
I also think people aren't as patient as they used to be. You got to wait them out, man. You don't buy it on Halloween.
well, even so, like I got a 150 pack of those Nestle ones for like $11 last week. So
that's a good price.
Yeah,
good price. The Nestle box is now the king. Like, now that they've figured it out and they've decided that they can charge more for the standalone Reese's or the standalone Kit Kat, you can tell I really think about this hard. I don't just go to the store and put it in my basket blindly.
No, like it's Nestle, and then you just buy a caramel bar at the till if you want one.
Yeah.
The only thing better than the Nestle is Christmas time at Costco when they have the giant lint ball pack for like $20.
I got a giant lint ball came out of my dryer today.
I got one that came out of my belly button.
I'll pass on a little.
The 2023 CFL Awards nominees list has been unveiled here. Okay, let's lock in our picks. Chad Kelly, Brady Oliveira for MOP. I'm picking Chad Kelly. Ty.
Chad Kelly.
Sheldon?
Yeah, he'll win it. Yeah.
Defensive player, Darius Pickett of the Argos, Matthew Betts of the Lions. Sheldon, I'm going Betts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same. MOC, Brady Oliveira or Marc-Antoine Dequoy. It's Oliveira. I think we all agree. Jamarcus Hardrick or Dejon Allen for offensive lineman. I'm going to go Yoshi Hardrick. I think he's going to get the... Although I could really see the Argos cleaning up on every category except defensive player and Canadian, right?
Yeah. That's kind of where my thinking is too.
I think it'll be Hardrick, but yeah, it could happen.
Special teams player, Sean White obviously was solid, but I think they're going to give it to Javon Leake for his return prowess with the Argos.
More flashy, yeah.
Rookie of the year, Kai Gray of the Elks or Quantez Stiggers of the Argos. I think they're going to give it to Stiggers. And coach of the year, O'Shea or Dinwiddie. I think they're going to give it to Dinwiddie. But I think those two categories, you could have argued that Reggie Stubblefield of the Alouettes and Stiggers could have both been in for Rookie of the Year and just ignored the West. And same for Coach of the Year. Respect to O'Shea, respect to the Bombers, but Jason Moss and Dinwiddie could have both been nominated for this one. Ty, do you think they could alter the system a little bit when it comes to the finalists of the awards?
I don't enjoy it just being one from each division. The NHL doesn't care. The NFL has... I guess the NFL does it, AFC, NFC stuff for like offensive player, defensive player, and all that stuff like that. But if there's more than there's definitely more than 2 guys that should be nominated for some of these awards.
Yeah.
So you're just cutting out the field. I get maybe not wanting everybody at the awards because if you have 3 or 4 coaches nominated for Coach of the Year, and then you have 3 or 4 rookies and they're from a different team, it's not like they're all. It's not like Toronto could just send their roster. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I get why they do this to kind of appease both sides of the country, but it screws over guys. And if you a guy like DeMario Houston who dropped off later on in the year, but if he were to keep that going, But then, I mean, and then you have Betts who sets, or did he tie or set the Canadian record? He broke and reset the Canadian sack record. Like, there's just so many guys that should be there, that should be acknowledged, that just don't get the acknowledgement. Like, yeah, like the fans know and everything, but it's just nice to actually have them all there. And, they get their team nominees, but it's nice to be a league nominee.
I think the CFL, more than any other league, has pockets of fans that stay in their own little bubble and don't realize what's happening across the country. And I think that proves it with attendance being up 3% in 2023. And that is with lagging numbers in Calgary and Edmonton, even in Saskatchewan a little bit. They still got the paid attendance. Fans just got kind of angry and stopped.
Which is completely understandable.
Yeah, but an increase in BC and Toronto has kind of fueled the 3% increase this year, which I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth. So,
I mean, Toronto basically, like their attendance went up 10,000%.
Yeah. And it's kind of lifted up the overall numbers for the entire league.
And we've talked about it where, a healthy Toronto franchise, whether it's the NHL or the CFL, is important to that league to be successful.
Yeah, it helps when they're 16-2, and look, they've already sold, I think, over 21,000 for the East Final. The upper deck is open at BMO Field. They're going to have a great atmosphere there on November 11th, and it's going to be a tough place for Hamilton or Montreal to go into and win. Let's talk about just a little bit about the teams that aren't in the playoffs. Sheldon, Bob Dyce returning in 2023 for the Red Blacks, at least to start the season. But from what I see from our nation online, is they are a bitter, battered, and bruised group. I can't hold it against them, I'll be clear. But what do you think about Dyce returning to start next year?
Well, I think he's in the first year of his contract, or he just finished the first year of his contract, right? So it makes sense that he's given another year, but I don't think that leash will be very long because the Ottawa fans are going to revolt if it is. They need to perform better, and they even, a lot of people thought they had a good free agency this year, so they're gonna have to put the work in. I don't know if putting all your eggs back into Masoli's basket is the right idea, though, so I don't know what they're gonna do there, but it makes sense. It's good for the Riders because it's one less head coaching candidate you got to get out of the way. So, but I don't know. I know if I was an Ottawa fan, I'd probably be upset.
Dyce?
No. I mean, like, it's one less team to fight for a coaching candidate. That's what I meant.
And two, now it gives Dyce. You kind of got the raw end of a deal with Masoli getting hurt again. Crum comes in, wasn't the number one in camp or anything like that. Now, if they can get, if they're going to go with Crum, then he's the number one. I mean, they can start to build a system around him and get him in camp. He's got all the reps from this year. He'll get the reps with the new guys coming in and all that stuff. Same with Masoli. If he's healthy and he comes back and he can stay healthy, I just don't think he got a very fair deal with Masoli going down again.
I remember the emotion that he showed and the team showed when they beat Winnipeg. It's clear that they like playing for Bob, but that doesn't always translate to victory. So we'll see what happens next year. Jeremiah Masoli says he does intend to return. He's got one more year on his contract. We'll see what the Red Blacks do there.
With Masoli at this point, like, I don't want to speak for him, but like, it almost feels like you got to start thinking about your life after football. Like, how many injuries do you really want to sustain and go through this? And I know he's an athlete, so that the recovery and everything is way easier than any one of us three.
Yeah.
And, but it's just one of those things, like, I don't know if he's susceptible to injury or if it's just luck, but
there's a lot of people saying that about Zach, 4 years ago, though. So.
Yeah, Zach's career was over when he left the Riders. That was it.
So
I was two-time MLP, two-time Grey Cup champ.
No, Neil Lumsden will not be the president in Edmonton. Those sources turned out not to be correct, but there's some rumblings now.
Way to go, Global.
That Rick Lallisher maybe sticking on longer than previously thought, and that maybe the community sort of model is not working in Edmonton anymore, and Lalisher might stick around to guide them through the process of, I guess, going with private ownership if it comes to that. Do you see it going that way, Ty?
I think that has been proven to work. Like, so is the community model, but you have to win. You have to keep the fans happy. Edmonton fans are smart. They're okay with a rebuild. But with just everything that's happened in the last 3 years with this team, I think they're fed up. If only there was a billionaire that lived in Edmonton that maybe owned another franchise in the city and could just provide it as a rounding error. I think that would go well.
There were rumblings of that earlier this year, and maybe that's the way it goes. And
I think this is going to be a hot take, but I don't think Commonwealth is conducive to a successful CFL team if they're not winning.
Like, I don't think it's been like that for 30 years.
Right? Like, it's too big. The amount of staff you got to have in there, it's just nuts. Like a 25,000 seater or 20,000 seater would work so much better in Edmonton. And be a better atmosphere. You know, and like the old track is gone. Seats are still just as far away. It's not great.
It'd be incredible. I would love to see it, and I know fans in Edmonton connected to that place, but I guess we'll see what it looks like next year when everybody's in the lower bowl. Sheldon, it appears that Smilin Hank is interested in the job in Saskatchewan. If you were a betting man, where are the odds of old Hank making his return to Ryderville? What is it? Is it about 25 years after he left?
Yeah, we were in high school, man.
Yeah.
It should be 0. I don't think he has built the resume to become a head coach in the CFL yet. I'm fine giving him an interview and getting, for the chaos that brings, but he's not somebody that should be a leading candidate, in my opinion.
I think it'd be entertaining. I kind of want to see it just for some new blood there, man.
Do we want another Matt Dunnigan situation? Like,
Yeah, but did Dunnigan do any coaching at any level in the NFL? I honestly don't know.
No, I don't think he did, but
Hank's been doing assistant coaching down there. He's been doing quarterback coaching down there.
Only way I'm okay with it is if he brings Nathan Rourke here. Then let's go.
He's making $12,000 a week on the practice roster. I don't think he really wants to go anywhere just yet.
Yeah, he wants to play though. He wants to play.
That's why when he went to Jacksonville, like I told you guys this in the group chat.
I said that was
why would you go there?
Puzzling move. He should have went to the Raiders.
Well, now that they just benched Jimmy Garoppolo this week,
he 100% should have went there.
But I get wanting to go though because Doug Peterson's in Jacksonville,
right?
But I mean, they have a franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Like the only way you're going to get time there is if he gets hurt.
Lawrence is going to be their guy for the next decade.
15, 20 years, yeah.
So, but on the Nathan Rourke thing, I think he's going to be back in the next maybe 3 years. Yeah. We just see, and I know we love him.
The Bears are looking.
And I know he's good, but every time an NFL team has an opening, how many injuries we've seen around the league, and nobody takes a sniff at him at all. So,
Minnesota went after Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah. So,
which, I mean, he has been good. Like I think he's only lost 2 games against the spread this year.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
I got an email here, and thanks for, no, it's a good one. Thanks for it getting on our radar here. Bomber Junkie on toandout.ca, reminding us that USports Playoffs start this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you caught the end of the Dinos and Bisons game, but the Dinos needed to win by 13 to get into the playoffs.
Was that like for a tiebreaker?
Yeah, it was a point differential thing.
Yeah.
And
that was some Craig Dickinson right there.
There's like 13 seconds left in the game or whatever it is. The Dinos take a snap, fumble the ball. Bisons return it for a touchdown. They lose the game, but clinch the playoffs. Like, That is an end to a football game. Like, not often do you win a game. I feel like this. Remember when well, we don't remember it because other than Sheldon, they used to do the two playoff
the 2-game total
games.
point.
Yeah. Like losing the game but still being ecstatic, That's what happened to the Bisons.
And speaking of a great football finish, Coach Vic in Sylvan Lake, Eskimos or Elks, season ticket holder, won a game with a Rouge.
That's awesome.
Won a playoff game on a Rouge.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know the Alouettes are going to pull some stuff this playoffs. That's kind of why I'm cheering for them to go on a run here, just to see what Moss is going to pull out here.
Did you guys see that? Sorry, did you see that video of like in '94, I think, or 2004, or one of the two, when BC tried to do the punt like on their 3-yard line?
Oh.
And it failed miserably.
3-yard line. Wow.
Yeah, it was bad.
So it's semifinals in USports this weekend. Lots of games to check out, including the Bisons and the Thunderbirds, the Huskies and the Golden Bears, and then Sherbrooke, Montreal, Mount Allison, Bishops, Windsor, Laurier, Queens, Western, St. Mary's, St. FX, and Concordia, Laval.
Let's go Mount Allison.
The USports Playoffs, and we get to the division semifinals in the CFL, where the Montreal Alouettes are home to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Something's got to give here. The Alouettes 7-3 inside their division. The Ticats 3-7 inside their division. The deck looks pretty stacked against the Ticats, I think, Sheldon.
Yeah, it does, but I truly think Hamilton has a better chance as an underdog than Calgary does in BC. But it all depends on what they do at quarterback and how.
Well, and it's just because you hate Calgary.
No, Darren, it's not that. If you look at the last, I think it's the last 7 games, Hamilton is like 5-2 or something like that. Like they've brought things together. They've beaten BC. They've beaten Winnipeg. Milanovic is running a really good offense for them right now. So if they can find a way to get pressure on Cody, sack him a bunch of times, take away the running game, like it's very possible that Hamilton can win, but I don't think it will happen.
They have said that they're going with the 2 quarterback thing, that Bo and Schultz are going to get playing time this week. Ty, do you like the 2 quarterback thing? Does it keep Montreal on their toes or what?
I don't like it. I think it, as much as it'll keep Montreal on their toes maybe a little bit, I just think it disrupts your offense too much to a point where it's hard. Like if you get in a rhythm and you've already said you're going to go with the 2 quarterback system, but if Bo gets hot, what is it going to take for you to put Schultz in? Are you going to put Schultz in? Are you abandoning your game plan? Like I know it's kind of like a broke record, but if you've got 2 number 1s, you don't have any. And I would just prefer them to just go with 1. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd like them going with 2 because it makes me want to pick Montreal even more. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it.
It's also like you're going back and forth between cadences. The waggle times might be different with the 2 quarterbacks. So it's not as easy as just go with the hot one. It's tough to prepare as that team, not just the team playing against it.
Well, and then you're splitting reps during the week and everything too. It's just, it doesn't set yourself up very well, I don't think.
It does seem for some reason that Schultz is just better off the bench, whether they plan for that or whether he comes in after an injury. He always just comes in and makes these big plays. We know that Bo's not going to run for 75 yards in the game, but defenses have to be ready for Schultz to run for maybe that much in a game here. The Alouettes have beat the Ticats 4 times this year, including the preseason. So it's I was going through the schedule here and I confused myself, but it does include the preseason. They say it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season, never mind 4, Sheldon.
Yeah, but playoffs is different. I think I think you got to throw everything out. The only thing that leads to Hamilton is that they kept it close this last game. Like, so that's something to build on. But I think you throw away the regular season. It's if you have a good coach anyway, it's you're one and done. So you don't worry about what you did before. It's what you're going to do now.
Here's a big stat about the Alouettes. They are second best in the CFL in turnover ratio. They're plus 14. The Argos by far are number one. They're like plus 27, and that's why they are as good as they are. But I guess that just speaks to how well Fajardo has protected the ball at times this year, but also how well they can take the ball away. Whether it's Lemon or Sankey or Duquois or Beverette or Stubblefield, they've got some guys on defense that fly around, Ty. Those Alouettes are fun to watch.
They can get to the quarterback. They disrupt a lot of plays. And not only the turnover ratio, they're second in passing yards against.
They are quietly, I think.
Right? Like they've got a really good pass D. And like you said, Bo isn't going to be running for 75 to 100 yards. So you know he's going to have to throw the ball. And that, I mean, they've been able to get pressure with 3 and 4 guys. So you don't need to send a bunch. You don't need to send blitzers. You can drop 8 back in coverage and play the numbers game.
Yeah, I think the question for Hamilton is who's going to step up behind Tim White? White's going to get his targets. White's going to get his yards. We know that. But who's going to be the number 2 guy? And I think that's also a question for Calgary. We're going to get to that in the West semifinal. Who's going to be number 2 behind Reggie? They need somebody to step up there. The Ticats are actually number 1 in time of possession. Sheldon, a key has to be feeding James Butler early and often and trying their best to obviously control the clock, but their turnover ratio is not good. It's -4 for the Ticats. Remember earlier this year, I think Bo threw 5 interceptions in a game, so they had some pretty bad games in that department, but giving the ball to Butler has to be a key, even though running against the Alouettes, at times you were able to make things happen. They're kind of middle of the pack in that department, but Butler seems to be a guy, the more you give him the ball, the better he gets.
Yeah, and that's playoff football, right? You got to grind the clock. You got to get positive yards on first down. So you're going second and medium, second and short. That the best way for the Hamilton to win is to control the time of possession and keep Montreal's offense off the field, obviously. So, yeah, a steady dose of Butler, and I assume Milanovic will do that. And then if you can bait them in on some play action and go over top on them, I know it's not easy to pass on them, but that's what you have to do to be successful.
I like this. The Alouettes are actually 6th in the league in second down percentages on converting second downs, but second and long, the most dangerous play in the CFL for the Alouettes.
They're running at 100%.
Are we going to see it this week, Ty, or are they going to bait Hamilton into thinking they're going to pull it off?
I want to see it.
Yeah.
And you see some tweets like this. They shouldn't change this rule, but they probably will in the offseason. It's like, no, teams just need to defend it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Like, you're going to drop back on a bubble screen 15 yards. Well, then why am I if you're going to play sticks defense, why wouldn't I just do it this way then?
A key injury to watch here for the Owls is Keon Julian Grant. The big Canadian receiver has not practiced this week. He just looks like he's trending towards not playing, which is unfortunate. He only got into 9 games this year, and he almost matched his career high that he had last year in 17 games. He had 512 yards in his 9 games. He's a beast after the catch. He's just a monster in that department. So that's a big loss for the Alouettes in their receiving corps. So Austin Mack is going to attract the best defenders that the Ticats have to offer, and he might not have much room to move around with Keon Julian Grant possibly not out there attracting that extra attention. Either way, this one is going to be a fun one to watch, and I'm also going to have my eyes on the returners. There were 2 return touchdowns in the final game of the regular season. I don't know if we're going to have that again from Letcher and McAllister, but Ticats, I think it'll do them well to get McAllister more involved and get the ball into his hands more often. The West semifinal has the BC Lions home to the Calgary Stampeders. Now, while the Alouettes are 3.5-point favorites here, it's a little bit of a bigger spread for the Lions. 6.5-point favorites, but Sheldon, I know you're a Calgary hater. Put it aside. the Lions, remember their defense during the summer, and everybody's kind of praising them.
Let's talk about it the last 10 weeks.
Yep. They
Farhan Lalji sending out these stats on X. They're 8th in points against, 7th in yards allowed, last in first downs given up, 8th on second down. They are 8th in takeaways and last in defensive penalties.
And to be clear, those 8s are second last.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like it's not like it's 8th and 15th.
They're in the bottom of most defensive categories since August. Yeah. And look, I don't know if Calgary is the right offense to take advantage of that, but they've got a chance here. And I think the Stamps could really, they could cover here, Sheldon.
Well, if any of them other than Bagleton can catch a ball, then yeah, they might have a chance. Because none of the other receivers have been helping out Jake Mayer. And like, I know BC's defense has obviously shat the bed. But
I love the past tense.
Ryan Phillips is a good coach, I think. And I think he's hopefully going to have them go. But I also think that that might be skewed a little bit. When Vernon has a bad game, he has a bad game, and he throws 5-6 picks. That's why their turnover ratio is so bad.
Yeah, that's surprising too.
Yeah, and so if Vernon has a good game, I think the defense has a good game. I think it's very symbiotic that way. It's not like Calgary that sometimes their defenses has let them down, but Mayer and Bagleton have
bailed them out. And
there's been quite a few games where they got 40 points, but they're also giving up 38 or 40 points too. So that's the kind of game I see happening here. If it turns into an offensive shootout, I think BC wins that. If it turns into just a defensive game, Calgary has a better chance, I would say, if that makes sense.
And I think that last game of the year between the two teams, when Calgary clinched the playoffs, I think BC was kind of
They quit.
They were kind of set. I think they were, I don't know if they were okay with finishing second instead of first, but it really seemed like it, losing 41-16. But that helps the Stamps at least get some momentum here, whether we like it or not. Kadeem Carey, he comes into this game, I think, kind of fresh, and he doesn't have much mileage on the tires this year due to injury. And the Lions' rush defense, not what it was at the beginning of the year. They held Jamal Morrow, to 0.3 of a yard a carry. But
you only get the ball 6 times.
Yeah, he's not Kadeem Carey. That has to be a big, big focus for the Stamps in this one, to get him the ball early and often, Ty.
Well, and I think too, healthy scratch, make sure that he's healthy for playoffs. Yeah. Now he comes back, like you said, fresh, banged up all year kind of thing. But playoffs, I don't want to say this is the time of year where guys are going to battle through a little bit more, but bigger picture in the regular season, are you going to keep battling and then possibly lose your entire season, or just lose a week or two to make sure that you're ready to go? And BC is a team too that doesn't run the ball. They're last place in rushing yards.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Calgary can get Kadeem Carey going early and often and run that clock down, and getting first downs, get Bagleton involved, maybe some of the other receivers actually make some catches and some plays, and they can hold on to the ball and keep Vernon Adams off the field. Maybe he gets cold, and not like, he just won't be in his groove, and that's just another way to disrupt that offense with your own offense, not necessarily your D.
Yeah, I know it's indoors, so I mean that works for the Lions. The Lions are 6-3 at BC Place, and the upper
A couple of those
open.
games though were like Eastern teams playing at 8:00 local time.
Yeah. The Stamps are 3-6 on the road this year, but they had a different D line. Because these teams, I don't know, during the last week of the regular season, they put their starting quarterback out there, but they have to put the starting O-line out there to get a fair evaluation. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time.
Well, and why would you want to put your starter out there with a mishmash O-line if you don't have to? You're just asking for something to happen.
So that being said, the Stampeders were getting after VA, and he's dealing with a banged up knee. We've seen a few times this year where the Riders got to him and he's limping around the field, and the Stamps got to him in that game and he's limping around the field. Mike Moore gets in there for the Stamps, and all of a sudden it just looked like a completely different line. Like he was gone from August until that game against the Lions. And I don't know, they looked like a different D line. They still have Mike Rose. They still got Julian Hauser that can make plays, and they still have Isaac Adeyemi Berglund. So if they're gonna make
and a hell of a defensive coordinator,
you can force Vernon to make mistakes. So I think he's gonna be putting the pressure on himself in these playoffs. He's a guy that does. Yeah, he wears his heart on his sleeve.
He's got a chip on his shoulder too. Like he's been around the league so much, and teams have just given up on him early, whereas BC's given him a chance, and he's trying to show everybody else that, I can do this.
It might be almost, I think he'll take it as put up or shut up time a little bit. He's got the talent to make it happen, but the Stamps are going to try to rattle him. And they've got the ability to do that. Like, for everything that we've said about Calgary, they do okay at protecting the ball. Their turnover ratio is third, which Sheldon
is really second. Because Toronto's just so far ahead.
They're another stratosphere. That kind of surprised me, Sheldon. They do okay with protecting the ball, but they are brutal, horrendous on second down.
Well, that's the thing. League. That's the thing. Like, I think so many times we've seen, Mayer chuck it deep and the receiver drop it, and we're like, and it feels like a turnover. Like, when they have the opportunity so often, it seems, because those receivers, they run great routes, they get open. It just, for whatever reason, sometimes they just can't catch the ball. So, if they can keep the turnover ratio in the positives, that's obviously a big sign. And when it comes to BC, if Vernon throws one, probably two or three are going to come very quickly, unfortunately. So it's the turnover battle is probably the biggest key, I would say, in this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sounds like me in Madden. If I throw one, I'm throwing four.
100%.
That being said, the BC Lions could be without a significant piece of their D line. Sione Tehema has been suspended for a game for an incident that took place. He struck an opponent during that game against the Stampeders a couple of weeks ago. It looks like BC is kind of preparing to be without him, but he could appeal it and maybe be available. That's just one of the things that happens
like baseball
in sports.
Well, Rose did that, right? He appealed the pushing the official, and then it went until after the Grey Cup, and then I don't even know if he still got his game or not. I'm not sure.
Sometimes
Just pull a Jamie McLennan and retire.
You can't get me.
You know,
And they like sort of, forget about uh these suspensions in the off season. Hey, I know
Not
you
the
said
CFL.
4. Just give me like 2 and call it good. All right. Farhan Lalji with some practice notes from Lions practice. Taquan Mizell back at running back. But Justin McInnis getting reps ahead of Lucky Whitehead in the offense, which I think is pretty big to note. And Justin McInnis has been one of those guys in practice or in games this year where he's shown up and just had big games, because it seems like just about everybody has forgotten about him. He's had a career year this year, 5 touchdowns, 690 yards.
nice.
And he's played all 18 games, but just in the since Labor Day, he had 108 yards against the Stamps. He had 118 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Red Blacks, had another touchdown against the Elks. This is all since the middle of September. So if he gets into the offense, you got the big 6'5" McInnis to look for. You've got the big 6'4" Dom Rhymes to look for, and you've got the beast in Javon Catoy to look for. I think the Lions might come out high flying, first in passing yards in the CFL tie.
Yeah, when you have the targets that they do, and they're all massive, they don't have they're all bigger than any DB that's going to cover them. They're more physical. That they can fight off tackles. They can fight for the ball. They high point the football really well. And there's still that speed aspect that they have as well. And if Whitehead is a little banged up and maybe McInnis is getting the reps, doesn't necessarily mean Whitehead's not going to get into the game. Where, if Whitehead gets into the game, he can blow the top off any defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's just another aspect that you have to worry about from this offense. But if they're going to come out and start and throw the ball like we think they will, I mean, just the way that they have, they don't run the football. They're last in the league in rushing yards. So they're going to air it out. And Calgary's defense, if they can get a couple, they don't even necessarily need to get picks. They just need to not let the big play happen.
Yeah.
And maybe start and get a couple knockdowns and stuff. And that is I think that'll affect Vernon just as much as a pick will.
Jalen Edwards-Cooper could be an absence in the BC Lions secondary. He's, I think, one of the hardest hitters in the league. He's always dangerous when he's out there, but he has not practiced yet this week with a shoulder injury. We'll see if he gets out there. And another key for the Stamps is who's the secondary target behind Reggie? Who's going to have the big game? Odoms Dukes has the ability. Markin Michelle has the ability, but in the playoffs, if you're going to have
Nick
those
Lewis available,
hey, suit him up. He's got sure hands, that's for sure. You're going to make those costly drops in the playoffs. You're not going to go very far at all. All right, let's lock the picks in. Hamilton, Montreal, Calgary, BC. We'll start with you, Sheldon.
It's gonna be Montreal and BC.
Ty?
Montreal and Calgary.
I'm gonna go Hamilton, BC.
Ooh.
Let's go. I don't know.
If Calgary covers, does it count?
Well, because I see them covering too.
I see them winning straight up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I just see that both Montreal, maybe they've gotten themselves a little bit more momentum going into the playoffs, but Hamilton, is this put up or shut up for Steinauer? Is he done? If they lose this game?
Has to be.
Yeah, maybe I want Hamilton to win because I want Milanovic. But BC or Montreal.
But how many times can you go to the playoffs and lose? And some of those losses are Grey Cup losses.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's just hey, that's not working.
Hey, at least they made the playoffs when they were hosting the Grey Cup.
Now,
How'd that
These
go?
games are on Saturday. Okay, I'll be honest. I would rather my team not play in a home Grey Cup than lose in that home Grey Cup
100%.
in overtime.
Yeah.
I
You
don't.
imagine Regina in 2013 if Hamilton wins that game. There'd be no Regina to speak of.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been fun.
It'd be Vancouver 2011 all over again. Also, I cannot wait for that 30-30 to come out.
On what?
On the riots in Vancouver.
Oh, that.
That's going to be so good.
Is it actually coming out?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's going to be good programming. Get ready for Saturday playoff football.
So dumb.
I'm here for it.
What,
I
you're
hate
here
it.
for it?
Yep.
I think it's lame, but
Yeah.
here we are. Saturday playoff football. I mean, I'll watch it, but
Not going to be happy about it.
yeah, I'm not going to be happy about it. You can rate, review.
The game's on. You're gonna watch it. It doesn't matter if we bitch or we don't bitch. If it gets ratings, that's what's right, in my opinion.
I'm just glad. Well, we talk about the strong Sunday ratings all year, and then all of a sudden we move it to Saturday.
But that was before the NFL started.
Yeah, but
Why are we
I still
scared?
think
Like,
I
they've
still think
never-
people are, if people want to watch the playoffs, they're gonna watch.
Well,
Yeah.
for sure. But
They've always been in the millions. Like,
yeah,
why are we scared now? I don't.
Now you're
get
putting
it.
on a Saturday afternoon where people are a lot busier on Saturdays than they are on Sundays.
And if we were so
That's fair.
scared, why aren't they moving the Grey Cup? I'm damn glad the Grey Cup's still on a Sunday.
I wouldn't mind it on a Saturday.
yeah. You
If
could
I
get
was
Sunday
going to it.
recover.
Yeah. If I was going to it, but then everybody would just show up Tuesday anyway, so like it's still going to be the same amount of time.
I don't think. I just think Saturday evening is when primetime television events happen. So.
Yeah. Or Saturday at 2 p.m, Tyson Fury fights and nobody knows about it because
You see Eminem, Mike Tyson, Vince McMahon front row, seating all next
Yeah.
to each other. That was awesome.
That's a crew.
you can't put Taker in the front row though because nobody'd see.
Yeah.
You can rate, review, and subscribe to Tune Out on your favorite podcatcher. Support the show on Patreon and like and comment on YouTube as well. I like there's a guy that he keeps commenting just saying for the algorithm, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, keep that up.
Yeah.
For the algorithm, baby. We'll be back.
Sounds like a t-shirt.
That's our new for the brand.
Yeah, sounds like a t-shirt.
Or at least I'll be here to talk about the playoffs later this week. Enjoy the games.
Sheldon, you'll be sleeping.
We'll talk to you soon.
That'd be nice.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.